Okay, so Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Amna Jalal, and I am about to start. Okay, so I'll be speaking on model-driven apps. Um, I've been in the IT industry for about 6 years now, and currently I'm working in Very Park, Karachi, Pakistan, and I'm a passionate learner and a positive thinking. I believe in positive thinking. So today's agenda is on creating a model-driven app. So we will be looking at the app designer, the sitemap designer, business process flow, how to create that, the form designer, and how to share a model-driven app, and what are the major differences to keep in mind while selecting an app. That is, when to select which app, model-driven, Canvas, or Portal. So let's just get started. So basically, model-driven apps are a component-focused approach to app development, which means that you don't need to write any code to build the app. Once you have defined your data, you can easily drag and drop the components in your app designer. The data source that model-driven apps use is Dataverse. So I think you would be all familiar with the Dataverse. Um, so in which you have the pre-built tables, or you can even create custom tables in your Dataverse. And then the data source, this data source you will be using in your model-driven apps. So again, it is a no-code, low-code approach. And the key focus areas, that is the main things that we want to, that we should take care about is that we need to be prepared with the data, a well-structured data. So you need to spend enough time on building your tables and relationships. Once you are done with that, you can start with the business process flow. So here I'll just tell you about the business process flow. That in model-driven apps, the best part is that you don't have to memorize anything. The users don't have to memorize anything. They have this business process flow which guides them throughout the model-driven app, like how to get ahead in the app, which step to perform, what's next. This is all done by the business process flow. So it's a well-structured, consistent app throughout. Then we have the app designer. And with the app designer, it's just drag and drop. So when you are done with the data and the business process flow, you are good to go with designing the app. Okay, so that you can do easily with the components that the model-driven app allows you to add. So Microsoft has categorized the model-driven app components into 4 areas or 4 categories, and that is data, user interface, logic, and visualizations. So I won't be able to cover all of them, but yes, I'll make sure we can have a look at a few of them. So this was all the intro about this model-driven apps. Let's get started with the demo first. So I can show you how it gets started, how it is all started. So we can start with the makepowerapps.com. Okay, and I'm logged in with my credentials. Here I can select my dev environment, and I will always start with a solution. Okay, so I have an existing solution here, that is the HRMS. So briefly, I should first tell you about the scenario that I have in my mind. It's a human resource management system that we are going to create. So the scenarios like an HR manager who is going to use the model-driven app for creating the employee records and capturing the departments or the timesheet, everything in control with the HR manager. So they will be having a full environment, and they will be adding the employee records and use the business process flow to ensure that all steps have been taken. This is the navigation that we are going to have. So the first thing, when you start with the app designing, you need to keep in mind that you need to have some navigation, the sitemap. Okay, so here we are going to start like the employee management. So basically, we have area, group, and sub area in the navigation. Okay, so the area you can see is we have two areas over here, the HR and the settings area, right? So after that, we can have the group. For instance, we can have employee management group, we can have a department management group. And within the groups, we can have subgroups. So within, you can see within the employee management group, we can have the subgroups as employees, leave balance, documents, timesheet, right? Okay, so for the sake of saving the time, because internet and speed and bandwidth problems are always there, so I just created a sort of demo for you guys. So let's just take a look at how to get started with the app designer and the sitemap designer. So this is my solution. After going to my dev environment, I'll open my solution, that is HRMS. Inside that, I'm already having some tables. Now I'll create a model-driven app. So for that, you'll just give a name, human resource management, add some description if you want, and then just check mark the use existing solution to create the app. Now you can select your solution and just click on the done button. Okay, the first thing that you'll see here is a configuration missing in the sitemap. I hope I'm audible, right? Can anyone please confirm that?
Yeah, we can hear you, and we can
Okay.
see the video as well.
Thank you so much. So to configure the sitemap, we'll just hit the pencil button icon. And then here we have got the area, group, and sub area that we are going to add. I just, in the previous slides, we talked about the navigation. So this is what the navigation is like. So I'm here adding the area first. This is my first area, HR. If you hit the save button, it will prompt to provide the group and sub area also. Without it, it's not going to save. So I'll add a new group. And within a group, we can have a sub area that we can select from entity, dashboard, or anything. I'm going to select entity, my employee entity. Save it. Now I'm going to add another area. That would be the settings area. Okay, we can even remove if we have by mistake or accidentally added another area. So now within that area, if you can see, the settings is highlighted, right? So within settings, I'm creating a group that was security. And within security, I'm now creating a sub area that is teams. Okay, so we have two areas, HR and settings. In HR, we are having employees. So we can call that group as employee management. Under employee management, we have employees. And And so we can also add another group within HR area, right? That we can call a timesheet management group. And sub area would be the timesheet entity. Okay, after saving, we can just save and close this and publish this sitemap designer. This is the app designer. So you can see all the entities or all the tables have been added here. We'll save it and then we can validate once. And if you see here, it is giving us the warning messages that we haven't added. I mean, there are multiple views, and it has added all the views that is in the system. So we have a choice if you just want to, so you can say if you have multiple views and we just need one view for the users to see. So we can always remove that view from the app designer. Same case with the forms and views. Okay, so moving on. After validating, you can publish the app. Okay, so you can see inside this, this is our, you can say, this is our app, model-driven app, the human resource management app. Here we have two areas if you have already seen. If you can see here, we have multiple areas, HR and settings, and we can switch between the two areas. Within the HR area, we have the employee management and timesheet management groups. And within each group, we have sub areas, right? So I mean subgroups, right? This is our security area and the Teams entity and that. Okay. So another thing that we are going to discuss today is the business process flow. So I have talked already about the business process flow. This is what a business process flow looks like. So if you're having, say, we can have an employee onboarding business process flow, which will guide the HR manager to take some steps. Like for instance, if they have newly hired an employee, and this is the first day of the employee, so they need to capture the details. You can say the employee designation, the name of the employee, and so on. Moving ahead with this arrow button, they can just move ahead and simply follow the stages in the business process flow. So these are all called the stages in the business process flow, right? So let's just take a look how to create the business process flow. So this is our app designer. In the apps designer, we have the business process flow part, where it is right now showing all business process flows that are there, if there are any. And we can create a new from here. Okay, so we'll just hit the create new button and we'll give a name to our business process flow. Category selected is business process flow. We can select the entity. It is entity specific. So right now we are going to select the employee entity and just click on the OK button. Okay, so this starts with our business process flow. We have stages that we can add here. It is saying new stage over here, and we can just name our stage. So I'm going to name my stage as the data capturing stage. within each stage, within each stage, we need to add steps. Steps are basically the columns or the fields of your table. Okay, so you can just see here that after I have added all the stages, I need to make sure that I have added all the data steps as well. If I won't add the data steps, it won't let me move ahead. Okay, so once I have saved, I will try to validate it, and here it gives me error on each stage because I didn't give step details in any of the stages. Okay, so I'm going to add the steps in each of the stages. So we can add name here. We can have designation here. So in each stage, I'm going to add the steps, right? Moving on, once I have completed with adding the stages and the steps, I'll now validate the business process flow. Now it is successfully validated. After that, I'll activate my business process flow. Okay, I'll just close this and play my app. Now we can see if we create a new employee record, we can see business process flow is here. So current stage is data capturing, and I can move ahead with the arrow button after filling in the details. Okay, now I'll be selecting some details if I have any inside this. So this is what the business process flow is, and it will move. It will help us move ahead in the application. Okay, so let's have a quick look at what we have in the application. So this is my solution, HRMS. Inside the solution, I've all that I need. So we have the employee table, we have the leave balance table, we have the timesheet table. We have our model-driven app, so you can see the type. This is the model-driven app, and this is the sitemap for the model-driven app, right? So now I'm going to, so we can discuss how to add the tables in here. So this is how I'm going to, like from here, from new button, we can add a table. We can add the app and model-driven app, right? So if I go in the employee table and just have a look what more we can do within the model-driven app. So this is my employee table. Better yet, I can show you through the app designer. So we can go into our app designer, and we can simply have a look at the forms and the views that we have. So right now, if you just see here, if I just play the app, we can see active and inactive employees, both views, right? We don't have anyone in the inactive employees. We have one active employee here. And if you open the record, we can add details to it. So what if I want to see only the active employees view, and I don't want to have, I just want to get rid of this inactive employees view. What can I do is that in my app designer, here we can have employee, we have forms, we have views. Here by default it is selected all views. What I can do is remove the check from here and just check mark the active employees. Okay, and uncheck this inactive employees. I'll just save this, publish this, and again play. So now you can see we are now able to see only one active employees view, and the other view has gone. So this is how you can play with your model driven app. Okay, may I please know how much time we have now?
You got 15 minutes more.
15 minutes more. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so what else we can do here is we can have a look at the view forms, right? We can edit this form from here. This is the form view. We can zoom in and zoom out, right? This is the 100% view. So we have some areas over here. We have the header area where we can have some fields in the header. So if I want, I can move this owner to the header area, right? So it will move here. We can have some other fields over here in the general section or anywhere. Okay, so if you can see here, what is this? This is a subgrid. So how can we add a subgrid? We can have, first we can have a relationship between the employee and the timesheet entity. And then I can have a subgrid of the timesheet entity in the employee table. Okay, so I can add from here, I can add the component. We have there in subgrid, and I'll just drag and drop here. It will ask about the entity or the table. We can simply say I need timesheet table. Okay, and the view selected is active timesheets. Just press on the done button, and here we can have the timesheet grid added. Once you have modified your form, you can simply save the click on the save button and then hit the publish button. So these are all just drag and drop things that you can do. You can drag and drop the columns, sections, any controls in your form area. Okay, I need to tell you one more interesting thing. That is, what if I want to share this app with other users with other users or with other teams, with anyone else, right? So what to do in that case? For that purpose, we first we can the best practice is that we can create a security role and then apply that security role to a user. Okay, and then we can share our app with that. So I'm using base security role here for my users, and I have multiple users, and I'll show if we don't have the basic security role, what will happen. See, we don't have the permissions, or this kind of error message can be popped up if you don't have enough permissions or privileges, if you're not having the access to the app. Okay, so what I did for sharing my app, you can just have a look here. So this is my model driven app. This is my edit button. First of all, we need to have the URL of our app, right? From properties area, we can simply copy the URL of this environment, of this app. Okay, we can copy, and then we can in a different browser, when we are logged in with a different user, we can simply check if we are able to see with that or not. So before I had shown you that we were not able to see. Now after sharing, we will be able to see, but how to share is the question. So this was how we copied the URL, and to sharing the app, we have a share button. Okay. So currently we have these many users in our system. So for instance, if I show you here, this user is the admin user, with admin user as well as the basic user. This user is a basic user. So in order to provide the access, what we need to do here is we can show you. If I remove this basic user also, what options will we get? So from Fred Flintstones, we have removed the access. Now, what we are going to do, I'm going to add a user, find a user over here. Okay, this one. And I click on the user, it will ask to assign a security role. From here, I'll give this basic user role, because I've already shared, in the privileges and then the security role settings, I've already assigned, or I've already you can say applied the settings, so that the model driven app is and on all other tables and entities are accessible to this basic user role. Okay, so I'm now going to add this basic user here and just click on the share button. So this is how we are going to share our app with other users, other security rules. So currently it is shared with these many users. Right. So if you can see here, I'm logged in a different browser with Clark Kent, or with Fred Flintstones, even we can try. And this is how it looks like. This is the same app, and he's able to see that. Right. So this was how to share our model-driven apps with other users. Okay, so lastly, we are going to discuss about when should we use which app. So we have three types of Power Platform apps, that is model-driven apps, Canvas apps, and portals, right? So in the previous sessions, we have already discussed about some, I think, brief overviews about all the other apps. We basically use model-driven apps where UI is not the primary focus and the data is the main focus. So we can have a deep dive into our data. We can have dashboards. So think of it as a manager or a CEO who wants to see the dashboards, who wants to access all the charts, who wants to see an insight in his company or everything, right? So he's more interested in the data. So we can have a model driven app for that purpose. Data versus data source. So model driven app uses the data source, data versus data source, and in which we are going to have all the tables or in Dataverse, we are actually having some pre-built tables such as account, contact, leads, and all. And over that, on that, along with that, we can have some custom tables. So model-driven apps use that data source. This type of app is mostly used by back office teams inside your organization. So if you are within your organizations, you have some various departments, right? So within teams, other teams in within your organization, you can use this model-driven app. Whereas if you compare it with the Canvas apps are pixel perfect applications. Means that um, where you can say the UI is more you can say more in focus, or the screens and everything, the user interface has to be really pixel perfect. So in those areas or in those scenarios, you will use Canvas apps, and that can be used by people inside your organizations. But mostly it is used where, if you see the real world scenarios, these are used by on-site users. So for example, you can have your users who might be some, like for instance, you can say real estate example. You can take a real estate company example where an on-site user of that real estate, you can say an agent, he is he's talking with his client. Okay, he's not in his office, he's with his client, and he wants to show, you can say, a book or a brochure or a catalog where he can show the clients about his about the rooms, what type of rooms that a house has or something like that, a bungalow, what rooms it has, how much area is there, what does it look like. So he can show the pictures through this Canvas app, and he does not have to be a part of the entire application or entire management system. He can simply have a Canvas app and he can use that. In most cases, Canvas apps are also used to help the model driven apps. So you can maybe add some data through your Canvas app into your model driven app, right? So in my example also, when I'm like, for instance, I use this human resource management system, I could have various Canvas apps that could be a part, that could help this model driven app. So for instance, when I'm when the HR manager is working on the onboarding of the employees, they usually need the onboarding documents, or so for that purpose, they can have a Canvas app, and through that Canvas app, employees can upload their documents to the SharePoint, and from there they can be added in the employee or HR management system. Or you can also have timesheet apps that are built out of Canvas apps, right? Where you can add your timesheet entries through the Canvas apps. So these are some examples of Canvas and model-driven apps. And one more thing, that Canvas apps you can use any kind of data source. They are not dependent only on Dataverse, but they can use Excel. They can use any other data source. Okay, the last type will be portal type. Portals are simply, you can say, websites. So the scenario is where you have external users, so that are outside your organization, and they want to use your system. So how are they going to do that? They can have portals. So portals are just websites they can sign in or anonymously use that portal website, and they don't need to be a part of your organization to use that portal. So you can think of it as, for instance, we have auditors that want to check something related to your system, but they don't want to access the CRM system, the Dynamics 365 system, or the Power Platform system, the management system. So they can simply log in the portal, and there you can have you can provide them different web pages where they can proceed. So this was it. I think I have covered
Thank
all
you,
the
Amna.
areas.
So do you have
So if you have
anything
any
else for us?
questions.
Sorry. I think yes, you covered up the model-driven part, and I think that's pretty good to cover. At least the citizens and developers feel that they can still come into the system, because in the morning we were doing more of a technical deep dive into multiple sessions. But that's good to know. I think, do we have any question? Let me see the comment box real quick. I think we don't have any question as of now. But everyone, if we have any question, please ask right now. Amna is available, and we can discuss it further. Okay, so I think this is pretty good. Then thank you, Amna, for your time today. It was nice hearing from you, and I wish you a pleasant weekend.
Thank you so much. It was really
Thank you.
a great experience to have you.
Agreed. So thank